All right, and when you talk about Fordo, we are hearing the bunker busters. Is that going to be enough if that's what Israel is wanting to do in terms of eliminating that area, or do they need more?
It's not clear at this point. I mean, we know that the facility is constructed inside a mountain. It's a network of tunnels, etc. What we don't know, it's deep underground. It's deeper than Israel has their own bunker busting munitions, but they're only capable of penetrating to say 10 meters underground, whereas this facility is much deeper than that. So it's really only the US that technically has the capability. But of course, Iran is well aware of the capabilities of some of these pieces of US equipment, and they will have been attempting to reinforce this base inside a mountain against this. And we don't know how reinforced it is.
All right, we've heard Iran say that they want to decimate Israel. What would it take for them to remove those comments and to get that pathway off the table, so to speak, if at all?
I mean, Iran's attitude towards Israel is at the very core of this regime's ideology. It's part of their, it's an outcome of the 1979 Islamic Revolution in Iran as a core part of this theocratic state. I can't see any pathway for Iran to move away from their attitude towards Israel without regime change. The challenge is that regime change through external force is extremely rare. And often doesn't necessarily mean, even if you change the regime in Iran, would you have a regime that comes to power that's any friendlier towards Israel? I don't see any ingredients that would lead towards that.
And I guess the other thing to look out for is what the Director General of the IAEA said earlier today, Grossi, about the potential for the Bashir nuclear power plant to be attacked, the only nuclear power plant for civil nuclear energy, but also moving ahead, if this is going to be potentially a longer war, what are your thoughts on the drones and how quickly and cheaply drones can be used to attack?
Yeah, so first on sort of drones and military capabilities, we do know that this conflict, Iran is firing less often and fewer missiles towards Israel already. So it's already starting to reduce some of their ballistic missiles capability. Israel has almost undoubtedly damaged as well their nuclear capability, but those aren't the only things in Iran's arsenal. Iran is also a major producer of cheap but very efficient drones. They've been used by Russia in Ukraine to devastating effect. And so in the longer term, this conflict is likely to be about Iran's production capability for not only ballistic missiles, but also their drone capability. Many of these drones can reach Israel and are being used against Israel at the moment. The second question about the IAEA's determination about Bushehr. So Bushehr is a nuclear facility that's right on the Persian Gulf. And the reason why Russia and the IAEA and Qatar and other international actors are urging Israel not to target Bushehr, which they haven't so far. There was a bit of misinformation about that this week, but they haven't hit the nuclear facilities at Bushehr yet. And I think they're unlikely to do so because that facility, because it's on the water, if it were hit and if you were to have nuclear material leaking from that facility, it would almost certainly go into the Persian Gulf waterway. And there's a real risk there of contaminating that waterway. And the reason that that's such a big deal, aside from the devastating environmental impact that would have, and for Iran's population, is that the people in Kuwait, in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, countries that are not part of this conflict, and in fact have been trying to develop better relations with Israel in recent years, maybe particularly Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Bahrain, they're vulnerable here. They rely on drinking water that's desalinated from the Persian Gulf. So that's why Bushehr plant specifically is such a controversial target. And I can't see at this point Israel deliberately targeting that place.
All right, we've got to wrap it up, but thank you very much, Dr. Jessie Moritz, and we had some live vision there of Tel Aviv. Thank you so much for joining us. I think we'll bring up those pictures now just of Tel Aviv, where we just had some chats before we spoke to the doctor there about hospitals in Israel. They're really preparing for emergency situations. It's about 6:32 local time in Tel Aviv, and we will have more on this story throughout the afternoon.